And now here's this episode of Beyond the Books with your host, Alex Chong.
Today's forecast, it is lightly raining and it is 35 degrees. Perfect conditions for a podcast. Hello, everyone. My name is Alex Chong. Welcome to the third episode of season 2 of Beyond the Books, where we go deep into the backgrounds and stories of our healthcare heroes. And I have a very special guest today. He hails from the great state of Illinois. And today's guest is Christian Garcia. Christian, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing well, man. And you just got the second dose of the vaccine, right?
Yes.
Yes. So how are you feeling? How's it going?
Feeling pretty good. Better than my first dose, honestly. But yeah, I'm super excited and just, I feel so relieved to kind of not be, I don't know, at risk or as high of risk to other patients if I was to be, asymptomatic or something. So it's a good feeling.
Right. No regrets, right?
No regrets.
Absolutely. Great. So, Christian, we have one mission for you today. Would you like to hear what that mission is?
Yeah, sure.
All right. So, today we're going to prove that you, Christian Garcia, are more than just a medical student. How does that sound?
Let's do it.
All
I'm
right,
definitely more than a med student, although it does take up majority of our time, let's be honest.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So, you're ready to get started in this journey?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right, Christian. So you grew up in a town called Belvedere, Illinois, which is about hour 15 away from Chicago.
Yeah.
So could you tell me a little bit of growing up in Belvedere and growing up so close to Chicago?
Yeah, so I actually was born in Chicago and we lived there for a few years that I can remember at least. And then we moved to Belvedere and I started kindergarten. So ever since kindergarten, I've been in Belvedere. And it was great. Like the neighborhood that we lived in was, I would describe it as, it was like by an elementary school. So it was a lot of fun. All my friends were there. We all grew up together. We would walk to school together, call each other after school, like go out and play. Like it was so much fun. Great neighborhood. So yeah, that was Belvedere. But it's small. Like there wasn't really much to do growing up. Just a typical like movie theaters and bowling. What else?
Yeah, so I guess the question I have for you is that in the state of Indiana, the city I grew up in, Carmel, Indiana, it was not a lot of people liked Carmel because it was kind of like the uppity, kind of snobby suburb. So I guess I have a question for you is that what were like the most disliked suburbs in Illinois? Because I heard of like Hinsdale, Naperville. I heard like those are kind of like the more uppity suburbs. So like
Yeah,
what were the
probably like
more
Naperville is
Naperville?
the one that like, yeah, comes to
Yeah.
mind. But I mean, I don't know. I feel like people just have, these misconceptions. Because I mean, my roommate freshman year was from Naperville, and he was awesome. Like we got along so well. So I don't know. But
Gotcha. I saw a picture of you. I mean, it was kind of blurry, but were you playing volleyball in high school, Christian?
yeah, so I started volleyball. I think it was my senior year of high school. They started a men's team. So my high school was pretty small. We didn't really have as many like sports and things like that. So they didn't have men's volleyball, but they started a team. So I played club prior to starting my senior year. And then I played my senior year. And then when I went to Augustana, they had club. So it was a D3, and that's what I did. Just because it wasn't as time consuming and it was pretty fun.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So Christian, go Blue Thunder, by the way. So and it wasn't like Roll Blue Thunder or something like that. I saw Roll Thunder a lot, and I don't know if that was like the saying or whatever.
Yeah, I don't, no, just like Blue Thunder, I think is.
Gotcha. Okay. So since you've been playing volleyball for a good while, what's like the trick of doing a perfect spike? Can you kind of like, because a lot of people try, but then like it goes like 30 feet out of bounds or it goes straight into the net. What, in your opinion, is like the secret of pulling off a perfect spike?
Okay, so I would say that you have to always like snap your wrist.
Mhm.
Most people, when they like go to hit, they like come up and they're like this, but like the ball is just gonna go straight, like it's not gonna have any roll to it or anything. So when you go down, you want to like snap the wrist, but you also want to swing through, like your whole arm needs to like, so you need to follow through. It's really hard, to learn, and it's not something you can just like pick up right away. I wasn't great at it, and I still am not great at it because men's net is super tall. So me, 5'8", I can spike decent, but I'm not great. But yeah, so I would say following through and then snapping the wrist.
Would you say you liked the to be in the front half, or did you like better being more in the back? Would you say?
I would say more in the back, just because it was easier for me to like predict where the ball was going to go based off other people's blocks. So you kind of like knew where to position yourself to where they were going to block. And I don't know, I just thought it was fun. I wasn't ever great at blocking because of my height. So yeah,
Got
I just
you.
felt like I was more useful in the back,
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I was always the guy that like I never knew when I was in the back and I had to bump. I think that's what it's called.
Yeah.
Yeah. I never knew like where the ball is supposed to be like on my arm.
Oh,
So like
yeah.
after like a game, like my forearm's just completely red. It hurts so much. And like
Yeah.
every time the ball's coming towards me, I'm like, oh my God, not again. It just like
Gotcha.
makes a little
Yeah.
thud sound against my forearm. So
Yeah, it definitely takes a few games and practice to, develop the strength around there and just like, because I mean, first few practices and stuff, like you would just have like major bruising. But then
yes.
you heal and then your body just gets used to it, which is like so weird, but yeah.
Yeah. And you were mentioning Augustan. Is it Augustana or Augustina?
Augustana.
Augustana. Okay, so
Mhm.
Augustana College. You were mentioning that. So go Vikings. You were part of the
Yeah.
class of 2017,
Mhm.
located in Rock Island, Illinois, which is
Yep.
along the border of Iowa and Illinois. And when I was looking through the website of Augustana College, they were talking about something called the Augie Advantage, I think, something like that.
Mhm.
So what, in your words, is the Augie Advantage?
I would say so. Augie provides you with, I think they give you like $2,000 and you can kind of use that on whatever you want, and it's like super helpful because you can, study abroad if you want, or, you could use it towards your tuition. You kind of just like get to guide your education in a way. And I think the advantage of Augie and what they really try to like strive for is that you build really strong relationships with professors and you just have a lot of guidance. So I think that's like what I would call the Augie advantage.
And I guess just kind of taking a step back, what led you to Augustana College? Because like personally, I never heard of it, so I did some research on it. So, what led you down the path to Augustana?
Yeah, so I honestly didn't even know that I was going to go to college. So I went to this fair, this college fair, and kind of just went through all these different colleges, learned a little bit about them and stuff like that. Came back with a bunch of info, and you know, I kind of liked it. Just like the people were really nice and gave a lot of information and kind of was just like super genuine. So I like looked more into it and then asked people about it. And my mom had, so my mom was a substitute teacher and she had a lot of friends that were teachers, and a lot of them knew people who went to Augustana and absolutely just loved it, had a great experience, were doing well. So I went on a visit and I honestly just fell in love, which was like crazy. Um, so yeah, I had an amazing like tour guide who ended up being like one of my best friends.
Oh,
He was like,
cool.
yeah, he was like 2 years older than me. We ended up going to the same fraternity, and it was really cool. So yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. And you mentioned this $2,000 like stipend that
Mhm.
students get. I'm just curious, what did you end up using your $2,000 on?
So I studied abroad in Nicaragua for two
Mm,
weeks. Mhm.
nice, awesome. And yes, I saw pictures of the Nicaragua trip.
Yeah.
But I was a little confused. Like, was it through your fraternity? Was it a study abroad program? I was a little confused of what the trip was all about.
Yeah. So it was actually a trip. There is this organization called a CHU. I don't remember what it stands for anymore, but you had to join the club and you had to have a certain number of service hours and some other requirements in order to be eligible to study abroad in Nicaragua. And it was like one of those trips that's meant for people who were thinking somewhere in like the science field. Like if you were thinking maybe like optometry, pharmacy, medicine, vet, like whatever, you know, it was kind of like that. This was the trip that was most helpful and gave you the experience or more of an experience about that field. Because during those 2 weeks, we hosted public health clinics in different villages and towns in Nicaragua, and kind of just got to experience healthcare in a different setting. So it was really nice.
Was this like your first big international trip, would you say?
Yeah. Hmm.
So what was that like finally going out of the country that you've been growing up in for so long and then just traveling to, a totally different country with different cultures,
Hmm.
different language and all those kind of things?
Yeah. So I guess, it was similar to Mexico. So I'm Mexican. So we would go to Mexico when I was younger. But I don't know. I don't really consider that as like, I don't know. That was just like part of me growing up, right? So that was like just a norm, right? So this was different because, the culture was obviously different. That's not Mexico. But the language was easy, like for me to, you know, like pick up. I mean, it was a little different, but I could still understand everything. There was obviously, some words that I didn't know here and there. But yeah, I think what was the hardest part is just like, I don't know, being in this place for 2 weeks with like people that you don't really know, and um, I don't know, not being with family. Like I think that was like different and harder, but yeah.
And so do you have like a particular memory or a story from Nicaragua when you were there?
Um, yeah, so one of my friends, KJ, we were finishing up our day at the clinic, and we are kind of just like, oh, let's go on an adventure, Like we didn't really know if it was allowed or not, but like these two, I don't know if they were teenagers, maybe like 10, 12. They were like, oh, we have like, this really like beautiful area they want to go show you. So we went. And honestly, it was just like so beautiful, just like Mother Nature. And like you could see, so there were like rocks, and they were like carved to kind of be like washing stations in a way, and that's where people used to go and like do their laundry and things like that. And I just thought it was like so cool in a way, that we got to experience that, because that's something that you would never see here, but like, so I thought it was like really cool. And then just like exploring the nature, because mother nature is just beautiful, and yeah, it was so cool.
Yeah, and
What
what's
kind of-
this picture? Where's this picture at? Do you remember this picture?
yeah, so this is a hike. I don't remember what the mountain or whatever it was called, but
Hmm.
yeah, it was a little hike. It was beautiful. Like, I've never seen anything like that in my life. So yeah, it was beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because like for people who've never been to, like Central America or South America,
Mhm.
countries there, sometimes there's a mentality that like once you see one, you kind of seen them all kind of a thing. But obviously that's not true. I mean, every country has its own different culture and every different traditions and even different food and those kind of things.
Mhm.
So I guess my question for you is that is there like one or two other either like Central America or South America countries that is kind of on your bucket list?
Mm, I don't know, not really.
Mhm.
But so to kind of like go off topic,
Yeah,
I've also been to India,
yeah.
which was really cool. So I want to go back to India, like really bad, because it was so much fun. And I went with my uncle. So he he'd been to India before with friends and everything, and he had like toured the area and stuff. Yes, okay, this picture. Oh my gosh, yeah. So he had been, and it was different because we were tourists, right? So for all the touristy activities. But I met some friends during my research, during my gap year at med school, that are from India. And they were like, if you ever get the chance, let us know if you want to go to India because we want to take you and just kind of, show you more of the culture and things like that. So I'm really looking forward to going again. So yeah.
So yeah, tell me more about the trip to India that you did in 2018, I think.
Mhm.
So you went with your uncle, and which cities did you go to, first of all?
So we traveled the Golden Triangle, which is
Oh, what's that?
Jaipur, New Delhi, and Agra.
Cool.
And yeah, so we did that for I think it was about a week. Yeah, I don't remember exactly, but yeah, it was great. They're all different. So Jaipur is like the pink city, and the buildings and the lights. I think it's like how the light hits the buildings makes it all look pink and stuff like that. I think, um, yeah, I don't know too much about it, but it was beautiful. And then just seeing all you know, the architecture was just beautiful. Yeah, it was really cool. And then experiencing all the food. Like I love Indian food, so it was just so great.
And I
But I was
bet.
kind of scared to try, the like street food because it's like one of those things where I don't know, like in Mexico, like we eat the street food, right? But it's not something that I think like a tourist would always do, I guess, like yeah. But if I went with someone who knew the area, like I'd be more comfortable to trying it, like knowing what to get and stuff like that.
Dude, I've been to Mexico City. Mexico City street food,
Oh yeah,
so
the
freaking
Mexico
good.
City is different.
Yeah, to be fair, yeah, that's true. True.
Hmm.
But like the street tacos and everything, and street
Oh my gosh, yes.
yeah, so good. I mean, and it was so cheap too, which was the other
Hmm.
thing.
Yeah, same with India.
Yeah, what was the spice level on Indian food? Because I know like some of the salsas in Mexico City were very spicy. So I'm kind of curious of what India's food was like on the spice level.
Yeah, we try not to get too spicy just because I had tried a lot of Indian food and then like the spice is just so different, it hits you different. So I was like, I'm gonna play out of the safe side just because I don't want to get sick. So yeah. But I mean, the spice is good. I was just kind of afraid to do anything too
What
spicy.
was what was one dish from India that you like remember well? That's like, oh, so good.
Um, I would say like just like the tikka masala is just like
Oh,
amazing.
I bet. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Like
Oh,
any yeah.
and what's going on in this picture? It's some sort of elephant park or something like that.
Yeah, so we went to these people that we met kind of like gave us this information about going to like see elephants. I'd never seen elephants before.
Mhm.
So I was like, yeah, like let's do it. I think we paid maybe like $50 or something like that. And we kind of just got to go like feed the elephants. And yeah, it was a little scary, but just because they're really big, but they were so sweet. So yeah.
Awesome, awesome, man. And where in India would you want to go next?
Um, I mean, I would probably want to do Delhi again for sure,
Mhm.
just because I feel like there was a lot that I didn't get to experience there. I'm a very, I like to go out and stuff. So I want to go out to like the clubs and stuff like that because they looked really fun. But, it's kind of one of those things where you don't know where to go and you don't really have the people to go with. So my friends, obviously that grew up there know where to go and things like that. So I'm excited to like go experience the nightlife there. And yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And hopefully international travel opens back up soon so we can
Yeah,
get
hopefully.
out there and explore again. But yeah, India's on my bucket list as well. So
Yeah.
yeah, definitely cool that you got to experience that, especially right before med school began.
Yep. Hmm.
Yeah. All right, Christian, would you like to play a game, Christian?
Sure.
All right.
Do it.
So one thing I noticed when I was going through like your Instagram and your Facebook to kind of find stuff to talk about for this podcast is that throughout your college, and I don't know if somewhere from high school too, but you had a very strong costume game, I must say.
Oh yeah.
Yes, a lot of fun costume parties from like formals and stuff like that.
Hmm.
And maybe Halloween, I don't know. So let me see, I have 4 pictures of you in a different costume, and I have no idea what's going on here. So I need you to help me, just give me a little context and just tell me the story behind these
Okay.
costumes. How does that sound?
Sounds good.
All right, so let me pull up the first one here. So I think this one is from college because it looks like a dorm room right behind you.
Oh.
And it is a lovely red black
Yes.
jester costume. And I think
Okay.
the friend with you had like a purple Teletubby or something like that.
Yeah. So
But
I think
yeah.
okay. So this was one of our first like it was what was it? It was a fraternity party that was just a costume party, so you could wear anything. And I didn't have a costume, so I borrowed this from one of my friends, and it was like really tight on me, as you can tell. But it was a costume, and yeah,
Yeah, so like was it a hit? Like how did it go? Because it looks like a fun costume.
yeah, no, it was really fun. People loved it and got complimented on it, and yeah.
There we go. And you mentioned your fraternity. Let's take a little detour off the game and talk about your fraternity a little more. So you're a part of the Delta Omega Nu, or otherwise, is
Mhm.
it called Dawn for short, basically?
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit more, like how you got into it, and just tell me about your experience with Dawn.
Okay, yeah. So Augustana is a small school. I think it has about 2,500 students, but I would say over 40% are Greek.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a yeah, pretty big. And then the rest are either in like sports or in some type of club or something. So you always have like a friend group. But I didn't really know anything about Rush or anything like that. But I just thought it was a really interesting process. And as someone going to undergrad, not really knowing like what to do, I was like, all right, like why not just try this out, right? Like go meet these people, get interviewed, see what it's about, get some free food too. So I ended up going through a bunch of fraternities, and then you get to know them, they get to know you, and then you put your preferences, they put their preferences, then you get, this like letter and you kind of match into a fraternity. But when I met Don, I was really interested in the people. I thought they were all like just great people. They were all doing very well in school. So that Don had the highest GPA out of all the fraternities. But they also seemed like they like to have fun. So, and they were all involved in a bunch of different, like clubs. This is where I learned a lot about the medicine clubs and the CHU and stuff like that, because a lot of Don were like science majors. So that was my main like interest in Don. Um, and the person who also gave me my first tour of Augustana was a Don, and he wasn't science or anything like that, but he was in there and knew he was an awesome guy, and he kind of just like talked it up and was like, yeah, it's been one of the best decisions that I've ever made. You meet a lot of people, and it was just a lot of fun. And through like the talk, you hear like, oh, some of these fraternities are like, they treat their people during pledging like horribly or blah blah blah. But hearing through like other people, Don like wasn't as bad. So I was like, okay, I think I could do this. And like it was kind of like a win-win because I like either got in or like I could go in, but then like not end up doing it, right? So I
Mhm.
was like, if I end up not wanting to do this, I'm just gonna get out, right? Like why would I put myself through something that's not gonna be worth it? But it was great. Like I met these people that I had never met before in my life. Um, that's where I met one of my best friends, Cassidy, because he also was a Don, and we kind of just like got through it together, so it was fine. But yeah, little PTSD, but not that bad.
Yeah. So, what's happening in this picture? Okay, so as someone who's not in Greek life, like I
Yeah.
was not part of Greek life in undergrad, right?
Hmm.
So there's like traditions and sayings that like I just don't quite understand.
Hmm.
What is the deal with fraternities and paddles, like the one you're holding in this picture? Like, why? Like, every fraternity has a paddle, and it's like such a
Yeah.
big deal to like get
Right.
assigned or like whatever? Like, what's the deal with fraternities and paddles?
So I don't know if I'm allowed to say what they do.
Oh, okay. Don't worry.
It's
So it's like a
it's
tradition thing.
yeah, it's a tradition thing.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, it's definitely like a tradition thing, and like you kind of get to keep your paddle and stuff like that. And like I don't know, it has like meaning because it's like you kind of earned it in a way, and
Mhm.
you yeah. So
And I guess another question I have is because you go to college for like education and like knowledge and information like that, but
hmm
you also learn a lot of life skills and like non-academic things as well. So can you think of maybe someone at Dawn or maybe a professor or anything like that who taught you something valuable that maybe is not related to like book smarts, but maybe more life smarts?
hmm let's see. I think like Chris Huerta, he's like one of my best friends. I think he taught me like a very important like life advice. And like he was just always a very fun person and everyone liked to be around him. He was always positive. Um, and he's like, just like he can bring your mood up when you're down and things like that. So he's like, he's like, people could be having bad days or they could be having good days. You never know. And it's just like the way you treat people is something like so important that like has always like stuck with me. And I think that's why people like really, really liked him because he's just a very like non-judgmental, positive individual. So that's something that I try to incorporate into my life. I always try to be very positive, try not to look down the negative. And like that's something that I think I have been developing. I don't think I've ever been like a negative person, but it's something that I think everyone can improve on. And it's something that I'm constantly improving on because, for example, like med school is hard,
Hmm.
but I try not to complain about it because I'm so grateful to be here. Like I've worked so hard that why am I going to complain when I should be grateful? Because there are so many people who would, want to take my spot, you know? So I think positivity is something that like a life thing that I took.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, especially a year like 2020 when things just started really falling apart a little bit. And the other thing too is that you're talking about med school, like it's so easy to have those negative feelings in your head because you
Yeah.
have like the next test, the next lecture, the next small group, whatever. But I think,
Exactly.
as you said very well, it is important to take step back a bit and say, like, okay, big picture, I am in medical school. I am learning things, those kind of things. And
Mhm.
yeah, just kind of putting the positive spins, even though the hour to hour may not seem pleasant at the time for like a day or something like that. Just kind of the whole like big picture of things. Yeah, I think that's a really good point, and I'm happy that Augustana, whether through Dawn or whether through other organizations you were in, was really able to teach you that kind of stuff. That's really awesome.
Yep. And I would say another thing is my confidence. This is something through my professors. So I don't know if this is a norm at like some schools, but I think it's probably easier to do at smaller schools, but professors would have open hours where you could just go in and talk to them and things like that. So I would do that just because they were kind of my source of guidance. Being like the first person in my family to go to college, I didn't really know who to ask or who to get advice from, things like that. So obviously, you get a guidance counselor, um, advising counselor, or whatever, and you have your professors. So I would go to both of them and just like talk about things. I'm like, oh, I'm interested in this. Like, what are the pros and what are the cons? So yeah, I remember like one time I was like struggling, through like courses and stuff like that. It was just a huge like course load, I guess, hard classes and stuff, and I just felt like I just wasn't smart enough in a way, or like I kept doubting myself, like and I'm still like this, and I hate this about myself, and I try to get better, but like after every exam, I'm always like, I just feel awful, because
I
there's
can
just
relate,
so much.
absolutely.
Yeah, there's just
Yeah,
so much
yes.
of like I feel like I could have done better, or like I could have done this more, I could have done that more, or like I'm just not confident in my answers or something like that. So something he told me from my professor was like, you have made it this far. Look at your grades. Like you just need to study what you can, do what you can, and just give it your all. And what happens, happens. Just be confident in your answers and you learn from it. And I think that's what has helped me become a more confident person in
Yeah.
both like school and personal life.
Yeah. Man, I'm feeling shivers. This is so deep and sentimental. I love it. This is awesome. Do you want to talk about more costumes, Christian?
Yeah.
All right. So costume 2, you were dressed up as like a certain cereal.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, what's the story on this one, Christian?
So this was sorry if you can
You're
hear.
okay. You're fine.
Let me mute myself really quickly. Yeah, so this was a fraternity sorority date party.
Okay.
So I had a bunch of friends that were in sororities, and if they had a costume party, they could invite a date, and you would kind of just pair up. So I'm pretty sure that's my friend Katie, and she's like the milk, and I'm the cereal. So we're kind of like, yeah, the partner, like yeah. So that was fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Was Wheaties your choice, or was it the only like big like cereal
So
option?
yeah, so this was I tried not to buy costumes because I like
Right.
will use them once and then never use them again.
Right,
But
right, right.
like you have a lot of friends. Like I had a lot of friends, so I would just like text a bunch of people and just be like, hey, like, do you or like anyone that you know have a costume, like a cereal, like, and you know what I mean? So like you get these ideas, and then so someone had this cereal box costume, and then Katie made hers. Like we like made it together because it was just like easy, like cereal milk, like come on.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And then Christian, I have one more picture for you here.
Okay.
Um, this one you gave a powerful point. And it was a nice power pose. So I want you to explain this one right here.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah.
So what was this? I think it was another costume date party. So that's
Mhm.
my friend Jess, and she was in a different sorority. And she just okay, so she was a Girl Scout. So that's actually hers.
Oh, cool.
And yeah, she like, got all those, I don't know how it all works, but she like,
Yeah.
had all those things or whatever. So she just gave it to me, and then she went as like a Girl Scout.
So just
And
give
then
me
I
like
kept
the
it.
behind the scenes because you're talking about these like costume date parties. So
Uh-huh.
like how do you know who to pair up with? How do you guys decide like, oh, we're gonna do like scouts or we're gonna do cereal milk? Like
Uh-huh.
just give me the behind the scenes here. Like how does that all work?
Yeah, so for both of them that I went to, the sororities had parties, and so they get to invite a date. Every
Mm,
single girl gets to invite one date or two. Sometimes like they don't really care.
whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. So my Katie and Jess were like two of my closest friends. So I mean, I think they obviously thought that I was kind of fun. So they were like, "Oh, like good invite Christian to like party, like what else?" So it would always start with I don't know. It was usually a sorority house or I don't know someplace, right? And then we would go to like the bars usually.
Yeah.
So yeah, but so I mean they had a bunch of different parties. Like there was a toga party that I like also went to. There was a date party. A lot of different um, yeah, fun little themes.
Yeah, absolutely. And some really good costumes as well, shall
Yeah,
I say. So definitely
thanks
appreciate
to
the
my
strong,
friends. Yeah,
yes.
thanks to my friends.
Definitely appreciate the strong costume game during your time at Augustana.
This one.
So graduated from Augustana in 2017,
Mhm.
and you were the first generation graduate, which is pretty awesome. So props to you for that.
Thank
But
you.
another reason why 2017 was a pretty cool year for you was because this was the very first year that I believe you went to Pride,
Hmm.
which is a big deal for me and a big deal for you as
Yeah.
well. So can you just kind of talk about like what it meant for you to go to your very first Pride in 2017?
Yeah, so I think it was one of those events that I kind of didn't really even know existed until I started meeting people that were also part of the LGBTQ community and stuff like that. And, I didn't really have many friends in undergrad that were, talking about pride or going to pride and things like that. But um, this was like after, so I met friends, and like after undergrad, people go to Chicago and they like, start working and start learning about these different events and blah, blah. So I had a friend who had been going to Pride for years. He was, I think, a couple years older than me. I met him through like an app and we kind of talked for a little bit and then we ended up becoming friends. And he's been a really good friend to me, always kind of like introduced me to these events and stuff like that. So that year, well, he had actually been inviting me to Pride for a couple years, but while I was at Augustana, it was kind of hard to kind of go and do these things. So that year I was able to go, and he had been going for many years, right? So he had it all like planned out, like with his friend group. Like they got an Airbnb, they knew like what concert they were going to go to prior to Pride, like where to go for Pride, because they had you know, friends who had apartments that were like really close. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. And for me, it was just I guess, like acceptance. I never felt like I never felt that I was not accepted by anyone. But being in this like huge group and just knowing that there are so many other people like me and the positivity, like it was just beautiful to me. So yeah, I ended up going every single year after, rather than, obviously COVID started. But yeah, I look forward to going soon as we can. And then this picture is from Indy Pride.
Hmm.
So it was my first Pride here in Indy. And it was so much fun. Obviously a lot different, smaller, but you still had, that positive feeling. People were cheering you on, like you had your professors, you have your friends. I remember friends coming with me. They were not even part of the LGBTQ community and stuff. And, just feeling supported is really nice. So, yeah.
So let's say there's someone who, slowly starting to accept themselves as far as like sexuality goes. It's still pretty new to them. Um, they're kind of on the fence of whether they want to go to Pride or not. Um, what would you say to that person who's kind of on the fence? Oh, I'm not sure if I'm gonna have fun. I'm not sure, like, if I want, like, what would you say to
Mhm.
someone?
Um, I think my biggest piece of advice would be to maybe, I don't know, it's kind of hard because I had such a great experience and I haven't heard of anyone having a bad experience. So I wish I could be like, you know, maybe start small and then like go to a bigger Pride or something like
Mhm.
that. Um, but it's also kind of hard because it's like, I'm the type of person, like if I knew this person, I'd be like, come with me. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. Let's say you know this person. Yeah,
yeah, like if I know
yeah.
this person, I'd be like, come with me. Like I literally have the most accepting friends. Like,
Mhm.
and if forever, like for whatever reason, someone doesn't feel comfortable, like I would give them the option to, leave with them or do something like that because I've already experienced it, right? Like
Mhm.
I know what it's like, and I would sacrifice that in order for someone to possibly have an eye-opening experience and feel more accepted.
Yeah.
Um, so, but I think it's easy for me to say yes, come, because I'm such an open person and I love, giving people like good experiences. And I know that most of my friends are extremely accepting.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, like I would just be like, yo, come with me. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
it's like hard to give that advice to someone who I don't know their friend group, right? Or because I can't be like, oh yeah, just go, like you're gonna have an amazing time. Like, it's kind of hard. But I honestly think everyone would if you had a good group of friends, right?
Yeah,
Like I think it'd be
absolutely.
hard to go on your own without anyone.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, but like it's just amazing. Like you see these families with like their kids. These kids
Mhm.
are like 3 or 4 and they're wearing like Pride gear, and it's like they're just you see this and you're like like you feel good. You feel like there are people out there who support you, who like you know, may not even be part of this community, but are still there for you. And yeah.
Yeah. Plus, it's fun, right? Great
Oh
music.
my gosh,
Yeah,
great
right.
music.
Great
Yes,
dancing.
yeah, like you can go to brunch before if you
Mhm.
want. You know, there's after parties all over the place. There's like drag shows if you're into
Mhm.
that. You know, there are just so many things, and that's why I think Chicago is just amazing because you have so many different options. You know, it's whatever you want to go and experience.
Yeah, I mean, my first Pride was in 2019 in Chicago, actually, and
Okay,
I can
how
vouch
was
it.
that?
Oh, I mean, so that was the day after I got back from like the Vietnam trip I did during the summer with the med
Okay,
school. So I was like jet lagged. I was tired. I was like sleeping on the plane, and then, I mean, I didn't even plan to go on it. It was just my sister and her friend were we were like eating dinner, and then my sister's friend's like, "Hey, do you just want to walk through Pride?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, why not?" And then we walked through it, and music was so loud. It was so much energy, and I loved it so much. And
how'd you feel? Did you feel like accepted?
oh yeah,
Yeah,
100%,
right.
definitely,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. So I can
you
definitely
feel
vouch that Pride's awesome.
yeah, and you just I don't know feel like not like a different person, right? But like you kind of just I don't know, kind of can like let loose a little bit and like
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely, absolutely. Because they're all accepting and wonderful and all that good stuff.
yeah,
All right, Christian. So I have one more question for you to wrap up this interview,
sounds
because
great.
you are known um, as a guy who's really big into fitness. You
Hmm.
run, you lift weights. You're actually going to go to the gym right after this interview is over. So I guess my question for you is, it's the beginning of 2021. It's a new year. You have people with their New Year's resolutions of either, they may want to be part of a gym for a first time. There's people who, were off for like 2 or 3 months and now they're just starting back up again. So I
Hmm.
want you, Christian Garcia, Fitness King, give me like 3 tips for like a gym newbie or a born again gym person. And like, what are like 2 or 3 big fitness tips that you would give for someone?
Yeah. So okay. So my first tip is I feel like people become intimidated by a gym, right? So I think it's important to like on your first workout, if you're going to a new gym, don't just go in there without a plan, right? Kind of maybe like do a little research, do something like whatever you want to do. Maybe you want to go on a run, right? That's easier if you just want to go on a run because I feel like going on a run, you can kind of go and like scope out the gym, see the people as you're running, kind of just like look at the machines, you know what's there, what isn't, get comfortable with it. I think it's intimidating when you go to a gym and you don't know anything about the gym, but you also don't have a plan, right? So like you can look up videos of like how to do certain exercises, just like, bring a little on your phone, write down like, 3 exercises you want to do that day, like for example, if you want to do like barbell lifts or something like that, or biceps, if you want to do biceps, right? Like, you know, look up a video if you've never done them, see how they do it, get some advice on it. And when you go to the gym, do it and just start low. Like you can't go wrong with just trying something. I think people sometimes also feel that in the gym people are like looking at you and are like it's like it can be intimidating because I felt that way, but honestly no one really cares. Like
Yeah.
I see people and I don't ever have that mentality. I'm like, oh my god, what are they doing, like
Yeah.
you know
Yeah.
it's one of those things where I think you just overthink, and it's a new place. So I think having a plan, and then just getting to know the gym, I think is like really important. So that's my
Mhm.
first advice. And then two, my second biggest piece of advice is staying consistent
Yeah.
with a routine. I know like it's one of the hardest things to do. And like I've had downfalls, right?
Mhm.
Where I get super stressed, and there are times where the gym can be more stress than stress relief, right?
Mhm.
So it's kind of just like knowing that you can have off days and you don't have to go every single day, but just kind of just like, having a routine, maybe make your goal, start, going like maybe twice a week or something, and then move on from there. But I think if you start too hard too soon, you kind of just start to lose the interest in it. So I think that's like my goal, when I was home, like this is what I do. Like when I'm home and I have a lot of time, I can go 5, 6 times in a week. And like some of those days I'm not lifting every day. Some days I'm literally just going to the gym to walk, right? Because I can listen to a podcast, you can watch videos, whatever I want to do. Just kind of like get my, listen to music, get my head out, go do something other than like sit all day, right? Um, but I have a lot of time, right? And I'm not stressed. But like now that I started school and we have rotations and we have everything, I'm like, okay, my goal is to go to the gym 2 to 3 times a week, you know? And I think that is more than enough. But I would feel so stressed, like wanting to go to the gym every single day, then also having to work and study, So it's kind of having that balance. So to reiterate, one, having a plan and getting to know the gym, and two, being consistent and having, realistic goals, starting low, maybe like once or twice a week, and then, going up from there, like, however we feel.
There we go. Some great advice, Christian. Much appreciated. Safety note. Yeah, usually go like very early in the morning, just kind of avoid the big crowds because of the times, right? So yeah, definitely try to go off peak. If you feel more comfortable at home, there's plenty of good home workouts on YouTube.
Exactly.
I will put a vouch out for the Orange Theory home workouts. That's what I've been doing personally.
Yeah, I heard they're great.
Yeah, so those have been really good. But yeah, I mean, make it your own. Don't get scared by all the gym bullies. They're not out to get you or whatever.
Right.
So yeah. So
Awesome.
Christian, that's what we got for our interview, Christian. Thank you so much
Thanks for having me. This was fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we definitely, without a doubt, met our goal that you, Christian Garcia, are definitely more than just a medical student.
Yes.
All right. So yeah, thank you again, Christian.
Cool. Thank you.
All right, guys. So we're going to sign off on this podcast. Please check out the other episodes on YouTube and Spotify, and we will see you later. Have a great day and have a great week.
You're listening to Beyond the Books with your host, Alex John.